Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm clear and audible. Yeah. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sonali Samvadiwakar. We are from ZILLIONe Technologies, AI Consultancy and Transformation. Over the next 45 minutes, actually, we are going to talk about something every manufacturing leader in this room is already dealing with. The gap between having data and making the right decisions from it. We call this session the prescriptive advantage because it's not about more dashboards, more reporting, or analytics. It's about the next best action. And let's go straight into it. So, before moving into the next slide, I would like to introduce our director, Mr. Enrico Lisk, Director Data and AI, for him to give you a brief keynote, a brief introduction to the webinar. Enrico, over to you.
So just iterate on what Ali mentioned. I'd like to take you to Sorry about that small technical difficulty. So basically, what we're looking at is it is 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. You're at your desk before everyone is, and you may be from the manufacturing side, from the sales side, the finance side. It doesn't matter at your leadership roles. Most of the time, you have in front of you your last month numbers, and somewhere between seeing the first dropout situation to having a supply contract which wasn't signed, for 6 weeks, and you're waiting to onboard them to get your supplies, your accounts payable invoices getting stacked up, no payments being done to your suppliers or late payments done, and you have a purchase order to be made, but then you know that the rupee dipped again the previous night, and you're not sure whether it is affordable to do that purchase order. So these are the kind of realities that you are faced with on a day-to-day basis, and then you realize that you're not running on any intelligence, but you're running on your memory, on your instinct, or maybe because somebody shouted it out loud during yesterday's meeting, there's a change like this or something like that, and what's getting done. The frustrating part is, and what nobody calls out loud, is that the data exists. It has always existed in your ERP, in sales histories for years. Your procurement team has all the contracts that they have ever signed. Your finance team has every invoice, every exchange rate, and every payment. And the data is there, but the data is not talking to you. It is just sitting there, waiting for someone to find time to look at it and get it done. But nobody has time because everybody is busy managing the consequences of not knowing. So it is like a very chicken and egg story. If you had time, you could fix it. But since you don't have time, you're actually fixing the errors and the problems that come from it. So what we have seen when we speak to manufacturing and large supply chain organizations in the region, the gap is not data itself, but the gap is about what you can do with your data. The gap is not the dashboards. Most of you have the dashboards to get it done. The gap is in the last mile, the moment between kind of knowing what has happened or knowing what is going to happen from a perspective way to knowing what to do next. Because sometimes, even if you can see the future, you have to resort to manual ways of trying to fix it. So the things that you will see during the demo is like you might have a situation where your Colombo branch or your Colombo dealer is about to have a stuck out situation, but you know that in Ratmalana you have idling so many units which you can actually transfer. So how can we bring this prescriptive part into your day-to-day operations? So as I said, like the gap is between the alert and the answer, and that's where your revenue leaks every single day. That's where your costs pile up every single day, and that is where your customer satisfaction drops down every single day. So we are here to talk about how we can get better outcomes with using predictions and with prescriptive AI. So the final outcome, very simply, by doing this session, it's not that you can adapt all of these as a solution then and there, but these are the kind of eye-opening things that we do for other clients that across all these about 4 or 5 scenarios we will talk to you, you will see that how these real use cases across FMCG, food and beverage, pharma, industrial manufacturing, what it looks like when AI can fill that gap for you from being just a reporting tool to starting to be a more useful member for your leadership team and operations team. So obviously, AI never sleeps, never gets tired, never has a bad day, and is always ready to give you this prescriptive kind of things that you need to do to stop your revenue leakage and to bring the cost down. So that is it. But that will let's jump into the session, and then of course there's a kind of a interactive session. If you want, you can ask your questions in the chat, or at the end of the session, you can open up your mic and then ask questions. So let's go down onto the first slide. Sonali, over to you.
I think so. I think everything is well explained. So I think the audience has a clear understanding of what we are going to cover here. So this is how we have structured our session. So we'll be open by looking at the reality the most manufacturing teams are facing at the moment. And then we move straight into 7 live use case demonstrations, like 4 for manufacturing platforms that we have built, and one on demand forecasting, and one on supply chain document intelligence, and one on finance automation. So we'll be closing with the business impact and who this is for, how to start, and the clear next step. So please hold your questions until the Q&A at the end, but feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. Right. So before moving into the use cases, I want to set the scene. Now, you can see 3 pillars here. So we have the reality, we have the shift, and we have the AI changes. So on the left, this is the reality most of you are living with today. So you have the data, you have the reports, you have the teams. Nothing is missing on paper, but somehow decisions still come too late. Stockouts still happen, excess inventory quite tied up the cash, and planning still relies on gut feel. So what's the shift that you need? The little column is where the shift is clearly defined. So not from no data to some data. We are past that. The shift is from visibility to decision intelligence, from reports to recommendations, from insight to the next best decision. On the right side, this is what AI actually changes in a practical sense. It sees patterns that humans miss, it predicts what will happen next, and most importantly, it recommends, it tells your team what to do about it. So this is where the prescriptive AI advantage come into play. So the whole theme of today comes down to one line. You already have the data. What you need is a clear next action. So I'm not going to deep dive into this one. I think Enrico has defined it very nicely. So you know, like what are the business, what you can expect to a business from this. But just to give you a high level summary. So inventory, waste, planning, work capital, commercial, and speed. So these are not projections. These are numbers we have seen with existing plans. So hold these six outcomes in your head because every use case we are going to show you connects back to one of them. So I think the time for you all to see how these outcomes will be mapped to each of the use cases that we are going to demonstrate to you in the next upcoming slides. So over the next 20 minutes, I'll be walking you through 7 use cases, as I mentioned you before, 4 from a single manufacturing platform, 1 from our demand forecasting engine, and the last 2 from supply chain document intelligence and finance operations. So let's get started. So we are going to show you 6 things. We are starting from reconciliation. We are going to show you a moment where manufacturing is quite struggling in, on transfer, and on expiry, on forecasting, and the most important part, the supply contracts. And the last thing is on exchange rates. So moving into the first use case. It is production versus dispatch reconciliation. So Enrico, I would like you to take this part over because I think you could explain it more better than me. So yeah, Enrico, I think we can start. Over to you, back again.
So here, what we're trying to showcase is, how we can reconcile between what is manufactured, what is sent to your dealers or your own kind of outlets that you have. It could be a combination of that. What is going on and what can be changed in that. What we want to see is, to bring a balance between what is produced, what is dispatched, and in which locations. And from a final perspective, like even if you had to do a recall due to something going off, how we can have it at, all these batch and the lots that we have. So what we want to see is two problems that we want to do. One is ensure that whatever is produced has been put out to the market. The other one is to reduce the holding cost. And the other one is to kind of reduce the lost opportunity cost. So let's go on to the video of one of the solutions that we have. So these data can come either from your ERP, if we can link it in, and if not, it could be an Excel output that you have. It doesn't matter where your data source is. It could be integrated or not. So here, what we're looking at is kind of a production and dispatch that we have from the ERP, and then of course you have visibility into the dealer inventory, maybe on a daily or a weekly or whatever method that you have. So we bring that, and then of course we will run the reconciliation based on the time. It could be automated. And what we have is basic inventory that we have, what is the quantity on hand, what kind of at each location, what's the batch, what's the lot, and things like that. So when you run the reconciliation, it will come up with all the matched ones, the things that you have not dispatched, the over dispatched because your dealer requested but they have not been selling, how much you produced, and so on and so forth. So these KPIs are up to you. These are some of the KPIs that we have seen in the industry, and of course everything has a graphical kind of a graph. These graph can be anything that you want, stacked or whatever that you like. But we will look at each item that you have. In some cases we have seen, we also go into kind of categories of items, like we'll say if it is braces, without going into the individual ones, we go on a category. If it is say toothpaste, it's all toothpaste that you have, not individual ones. All those kind of things you can do. It's not a problem. And then it will show you how your current situation is. So this is something very useful when you want to see the current positions that you have. Shall we go to the next one? So I'm not taking these SKUs can be anything. We just took some SKUs for you kind of which people are familiar. The next thing is on the movement intelligence, like what are your fast moving items, what are your slow moving items. And while we are breaking this into sections and showing, this is one solution, right? You look at your inventory positions, then you look at your slow moving, fast moving kind of items. So I don't think I need to give you examples how this works, what you do daily. Let's quickly jump into the video of the solution. So here what we do is by outlet, by product, we try to show you what is moving fast and what is moving slow. Now we do understand that you cannot move stock between maybe two dealers. That is a reality, but within a dealer, definitely there are possibilities of moving. So you define the logic for fast moving and slow moving. We have our own scales from the industry, but you can define it. And then if you have expiry items, we will tell you what are expiring and stuff like that. So basically, what you look at is we look at you can look at what is on the normal movement, what is on fast, what's on slow, and what is the dealer stock on hand. So this is kind of the analysis that we have, and of course the expiry alerts and all those things will come in there. So the idea is not only to show you this, but then how can we, bring in that predictive or prescriptive part in. So here you can see basically one particular SKU is slow moving in one particular place, and the same SKU can be fast moving in a different outlet. So what we try to do is we try to match these pairs and then try to come up with some prescriptive suggestions, which is of course in the next section. So let's go to the prescriptive part. Yeah, so it will do cross-location transfers. We'll take that one before we go to the expiry and bundled offers thing. So we'll have a look at this. Let's play the video. So this transfer suggestions is an AI suggestion. It's not that you need to do it. So it will tell you where it feels that stock could be moved for a few reasons. One is if it has an expiry or it's slow moving, there can be value that you lose. And then of course from a customer experience and a revenue perspective, if you have it in the correct location, you can generate revenue on that because it is a fast moving item in that. So here what we do is we understand that you will be taking action inside your ERP, but it will show you how much of opportunities you have to balance out the stock in terms of increasing revenue and reducing kind of wastage, that kind of a thing. So if you have decided that this is a good move, you can go and mark it as done, and the dashboards will show what is the effect of that. Of course, you'll need to go and make a transfer order in your ERP, but who's planning knows exactly what is to do. Sometimes an AI prediction can be wrong, where you feel, no, I don't need to dispatch it to a different location. I know there's a new kind of order coming into that outlet, so I'm not going to do it. So this is a kind of prescriptive thing that it takes, where AI will help you make those transfer things. So it can be with regard to stock transfer, and of course within the dealer. If it's your outlets, then not a problem. You can move it between the outlets. So that's it on here on transfers and the value that you can do and stuff like that. And it will show you what are the actions taken and so on. In the same data, we have the expiry risk. So here also what we're trying to do is if it expires, obviously there is a cost of taking it out on the from a financial perspective, as well as from a kind of a customer experience perspective, because you don't want to have expiring things. And we have seen this in supermarkets, expiry date is like tomorrow and there's an offer today, and obviously nobody's going to buy it because that's how people are. But if you can do it early, like a month early, 2 months early, then of course those offers will be better. But the thing is, the data isn't there, so you don't know that it's going to expire, so you don't have those offers coming in. So let's go to the video. So the same solution. So we are looking at the expiry alert. So we have the critical ones. Whole idea is if you have a solution like this, you will not have critical because you would have seen this coming like weeks ago, and by different priorities at different dealers and so on. So what we prescribe is prescription is based on your. You can have maybe buy one get one free offers, 20%, 30% off. It could be a bundled offer. So here we have different kind of offers that we bundle it, but these are your solutions that you have on how to move expiring stock. And basically the recommendation will come. So it's not only saying that there is going to be a problem, it will tell you what can you do. But of course, there is a financial kind of, how can I say, a revenue mismatch here, because if you can sell it without a discount, you'll make that much of revenue. But if you bundle it and say there's a revenue that you can recover, or if you don't sell it at all, there is a wastage that could happen which you can avoid. So here also all these offers are there, so you can tell by product type what kind of things you can do, complementaries or substitute products or whatever that you are doing to get these offers done. Through AI we will match it for you, and as usual you can mark it as done here. Obviously, you need to go to your ERP or your dealer and tell all those things to be done in their system. But from here, we can kind of get it done. And under expiry alerts, it will have basically what is happening with regard to your stock from an expiry perspective. So these are some of the use cases that we have. I mean, there are like hundreds of use cases that we are dealing with different clients, but we can't show because most of it is their IP. But these are kind of the general use cases that we can kind of put in a webinar and show you. So this is just a crude implementation of what we have. It can be integrated to your solutions, or your data can come from Excel or CSVs or something like that. Kind of prescriptive things we can do completely with your stock that you have and the existing data that you have with you. So that's it. I think the 4 or 5 areas that we have with regard to available stock and how on a supply chain perspective to get it done. The next is on forecasting. You take it or want me to do it? Yeah. So next one is, okay, so this is with what we have, but what do we do with regard to how much we need to produce, right? Because as a manufacturing company, you need to forecast your demand well in advance, because sometimes your production times can be 4 or 5 months based on the raw materials and those kind of things. So how do we get it done? So these solutions are actually running in some of our more advanced kind of countries where we have, but I think is a very valid solution for even Sri Lankan companies. So here we pick up every information from your ERP, including the stock situations that you have. We will look at your inventory, and then we'll look at your historic sales, and then come up with what is the demand that we see for on a monthly, weekly, or whatever the tenor that you need. So, and what we do here is, remember, it's not just an inventory item that we are forecasting. We can forecast it by a particular location. We'll say if you are working with, the 9 provinces, then we can put it by the provincial kind of a thing. If it is by, you have some key clients that you have and you want to predict for a client a particular product, that also we can do. And any matrix between that item, location, and client is possible to be done with this, so that you know that your inventories will be available to cater to the customer demand or that location demand or as an item demand. So that's a great thing that this solution can do. Any of those granularities we can do. The same way, if you want, to run an early forecast for an item category, like I gave the example earlier, how many racers do I need? Not actually, how many 2-blade or 3-blade or things like that. That can be done for a product category or something like that. So if you're doing like a 1-year planning, you can go on categories. If you're doing a kind of a real production planning for the next few months, you can go with a item level thing. Let's look at some of the screens that we have. So first is we bring kind of the item positioning so that you know where your inventory is. And this could be, this mainly we do from a sales point of view, but there's one client that is using this for the raw material planning. I'm not sure how much you all can use it, but they look at the item positionings and based on the production, what we need. So here we have these lovely dashboards that will tell you the current position, what is going out of stock, what is within safety stock, what is below, so those kind of things. And then, of course, if you want, on the left-hand side, you can pick an item and look at what it is and how it's performing. And then by location, what is happening, and by top customers, what is happening. And on a sales perspective, what are your top item sales? That's on your left-hand side. The forecasting actually happens on the right-hand side. It is like a forecasting playground that we give. You can tell what are the scenarios you want. You want it for a quarter, you want it for the next 3 months, those kind of things you can tell. You can also say whether there are seasonal things that will change, and then it will come with this screen that you have on the bottom right hand with all the scenarios that you wanted to forecast. Once you do that, together with your planner, you can select which one, and then you will kind of run the demand planning, or you can forecast items for the demand planning. Once it's done and the real thing happens maybe by the end of the quarter, you can see it how it compares. So that's what is on your top one. So the left hand side line is the actual that we took to the demand forecasting. The two lines that you can see is what was forecasted versus actually in 3 months or 6 months, actually what happened. So that will help the forecaster or the planner plan better for some particular items. And these are all automated. You can have it running at the beginning of the week and so on and so forth. So all those automations is there. When you come in the morning, your planner has all these things done so that you can plan the forecast for the items. This is something that is running actually in some of our clients in US, but definitely for the manufacturing kind of things, who are doing your own manufacturing, can look at forecasting. Let's go to the next one.
Yes. So I think the most significant use cases were well described. Well, I mean, was described in detail. Thank you for that, Enrico. So I think the one I'm going to discuss right now is something very common between multiple industries, but I just want to tailor this for supply chain and manufacturing specifically. So we could see that most of your teams, like procurement or supply chain, so every one of them like used to read these supply contracts, POs, letters of credit, and maybe shipping documents, for an example. So line by line, let's say. So different suppliers, they might have different formats, different Incoterms, and different currencies. So the most, I would say, the bottleneck, a very common pain point, is that these small mistakes that would happen during these reviews, like document reviews, could get like it could get accumulated quietly, and unfavorable payment terms can be there, and a missing penalty clause can be there, and a delivery window that doesn't match with the production planning. So by the time someone catches it, the working capital impact is already in the numbers. So this reads that every supply document against your own procurement playbook, like say missing clauses, incorrect payment terms, mismatched delivery dates, like surface with plain English written. So the team can accept, either reject or edit in line. So there's no reeking part of it, but every version of this is tracked. So I think from a supply chain perspective, I think this is a kind of a crucial bottleneck. I would say a crucial use case that you can particularly looking into. But I would like to show you this video, which will show you how this how AI can use to review these contracts, or it can be either an agreement or an invoice or maybe a PO in sort of a case. So you can see how these specifically how these agreements and contracts can be reviewed using AI. So with minimal human intervention. So I'll just play this video for you. So here we have taken a vendor supply agreement, a sample. So you can see it has different clauses coming in different terms, and even the signature date fields are there. So what happens is like we are going to upload this document to the system. So it will start analyzing it. Okay. So you could see here, let me just park here for a while. Now you can see the on left hand side you have the standard supply agreement that we uploaded to the system, and in the middle you can see the suggestions. Like say, if you take if there has to be a particular mandatory term coming into an agreement or a contract, so those suggestions are given by the system in the middle column. And on the right hand side, you can see what are the terms and what are the clauses that are present already exist in the document, and what are the missing terms or clauses, and what terms are being partially completed or partially included in the agreement itself, and the versioning part. Now, you might wonder, like, against what this agreement or this contract is being validated with. So basically, we are given a set of clauses to match it, validate it against the uploaded agreement or the contract. So based on that clauses or terms, so it's customizable. Like say, it depends on your requirement. It depends on what sort of terms and conditions terms and clauses that your documents should have. So in this scenario, we have taken a common set of clauses and we have mapped it. We have validated those clauses against a particular agreement or a contract, I would say. So let me continue this video. So you can see it will generate all the KPIs, like say what are the present ones, what are partially completed, and you can see like even it gives you the risk level as well. So in some cases there can be scenarios where there has to be terms which should be included in an agreement in an agreement specifically, because without those agreements there can be kind of exposure that we are can be, I would say, kind of a compliance exposure, maybe compliance risk, for an example. So what happens here is like either you can just go through the document and it will just highlight what are the areas that should be, like refined before sending it for approval, or maybe any other thing. So you can just edit it in line within a document. If not, what you can do is you can simply click on a suggestion, and when you accept it, it will automatically bring that clause into the document. So you can see that in this video. Yeah. See, so once you accept a suggestion, that term or the clause will be included into the document itself. So yes. Andrew, anything to add into this one apart from the ones I mentioned?
I think there's two lines to summarize. One, you know that all your contracts are going to have all the things that you wanted defined by your company, and there are no kind of surprise. The second thing is a contract that would have taken maybe 6 or 7 weeks for your legal team to validate. Now the legal team should be able to do it in hours and actually focus on new clauses and the stuff that need to come in for the new agreements that you're signing. So one is you load your vendor, or it can be anything. It could be a dealer. It doesn't matter. Extremely fast using this, and you know that there are not going to be any consequences because it has been validated, and have that competitive advantage of getting things done fast. So I think those two things are the main two things here, and this could be done not only for legal contracts, any other documents that you have that need to get validated, you can get it done by this.
Perfect. So I think this use case can be more applicable for your industry as well, because I think you are dealing with more and more documents. I'm certain that you are handling it manually as well. So I think one important use case that we just demonstrated. So we'll jump to the last one. So which is exchange rate automation. Now the best thing about this is like I have seen, and we have just experienced with clients that they used to go through each and every bank site in the morning, or maybe at the noon, or maybe in the night. I just want to extract all these currencies that they want. And when it comes to manufacturing, I'm certain that you might be dealing with both overseas and local suppliers as well. So in that case, currency will play a crucial part in this one. in the industry itself. So exchange rate automation, the solution that we are bringing in, I'll jump to the next slide. So I think it will be very easy for me to explain through this one. So the one we have done is, so we are extracting the USD currency at the moment from 7 different banks, including CBS, and these extracted currency values are being posted into Teams and into an email daily. So there's a specific time that these values, the currency, the updated currencies are being posted to both the channels. So what happens is, like, this agent is on our website. So if someone wants to get live updates on the exchange rate, so basically they can subscribe for free using the email. And I'll just go to the bottom left chart that you can see. So basically you can analyze the trend. Now let's say, since we are dealing with USD currency right at the moment, so you can see how these values, how this currency changes, how this currency trend has been fluctuating between different banks. So one question that you might have is, like, is it only can be done for USD? Of course not. So this is totally customizable. So you can bring other currencies if you want. And of course, we can onboard other banks and other sources uh, into this one as well. And right now, this the USD currency, we are giving just one update per day. But in case, like, for an industry like yours, like say manufacturing and supply chain, these changes, these updates should be in your hands like multiple times per day. So we can do that. Do that as well. We can customize into that level as well. So historical data retention and audit trials can be also done. And the best part of this is, like, you might want these currency updates coming into a ERP or to any other financial system. Of course, this can be achievable as well. And it could be anything, like, say, if you want this to be coming into a ERP, it can be whether you want it to come into an Excel, or whether you want to come into a mobile, like say via email, or it can be either Microsoft Teams. So whatever the channel that we're looking into, we can definitely get this solution customizable depending on your requirement. Yeah, so I think those are the 7 use cases that we just demonstrated, but I think, Enrico, I think you have something to say for this one.
And that, can I just jump into that and present it? And yeah,
Yeah, I see so.
That's it. So this is something that actually we are doing for a few clients on AP invoices. So here what we're trying to do is there are two things. One is the effort that we save because it's done by a machine. So humans are not doing this data entry. That's number one. Number two is accuracy, because when somebody is looking at something and entering, accuracy can go here and there, but here it's a machine. So accuracy is like 100%. The third is actually when you look at AP invoices, very little information gets entered into the ERP. But here, since it's a machine, we can track every line item that is there and bring it into the ERP. So when that happens, you can actually look at where your costs are going and then see whether it's with the business growth or things like that, and actually reduce your AP payments or your AP cost. By analyzing this data. So those are the 3 key things that come with that. I'll just show you a video. And for this, you don't need to. So basically what happens is you just bring your APV invoices, the scan document, right? It's something like this. And then we will mark together with you, okay, what are the information that we are going to extract from this document? It could be anything. So this is actually just a sample invoice. And you need, from different places, the data to come from maybe detailed lines or whatever. And then through the AI models, we will populate that data, all the extracted data. And once you do it, we can have an automated job. Some people on it based on time, some people on a click. And here what we have brought is we have brought Sage in as an example because Sage native doesn't have APIs. If you have APIs, we can just push this. But even without APIs, we can open your application. So we have done it on IFS, on Sage, on a few other ERPs. You can just bring the ERP up. The system will bring the ERP up and type in all these details that have done. And then, of course, most of the time the question that people ask is, what about the attachment? Can we get it? Yeah, even the attachment, we can bring it into UAP invoice as proof and keep it. Of course, someone will have to approve it and send because we want always a human to be in the loop to check it once more and then run it. But the accuracy and speed is exceptional in this, and the cost per document is also really small. So if you're having problems on your AP invoices and want to see what are you actually built for, line item level, this is definitely a great solution for you all. Just wanted to add that here. So there are so many other use cases, but in a webinar, there is only a few that we can show. So please let us know kind of like what you need, and definitely we can look at a kind of a solution for you.
Right. So I think we have covered. Yeah, I think we have covered the majority of the use cases. I think you'll have probably get an idea of how well these use cases might fit into our industry or to our workflows within the organization. But the next question, it's a very common question, right? So how to start and where to start? So as a frontier leading organization on AI and transformation, so I think we have seen multiple companies coming with different aspects. Like say they have a particular requirement. In some cases, like you might not have a requirement, but let's say you want to address these pain points and see where these technologies or these, I would say AI simply, can use within the organization, within the industry itself. Now, we bring this AI transformation and consultancy approach to this one, where we understand, where we try to understand the business context, and we understand what are the pain points and bottlenecks that you have. And we prioritize one. We focus on one clear pinpoint, and we define the blueprint, the solution blueprint for it, and we move ahead with the implementation. And finally, we see that how an organization can adapt and scale it with multiple teams across the organization. So our AI transformation and consultancy have different exit and entry gates. Like say, if as I mentioned you before, it can either be a requirement or you might just want to see how well this fits within your organization. And for us, what we do is like after understanding the business, after identifying the business context, we define these are the areas that you can definitely make a huge business impact, and based on the level of business impact we guide you through this entire process, where we start from a discovery, moving into a blueprint, and finally moving into an implementation. So since we're talking about manufacturing and supply chain, I just want to brief down into these 3 points. We start with understanding your data. Basically, we understand whether on the accessibility of the data and how usable it is. And we pick one high impact use case based on a strict criteria, like say which pain point or which use case will give you which has the highest business impact and which will give you a quick win. Maybe it can be a top line or from a bottom line perspective. And we run a forecast, like kind of a forecast solution. Basically, we deliver a working prototype and we measure how well this makes an impact on it. So what we are trying to say is that you don't need to transform everything at once. So we always make sure that the client starts with a one clear, I would say, business case, and then we move ahead with the implementation. So pinpoint one clear prioritized use case, and we see how we measure how well this impacts your organization, and we move into the rest of the use cases or bottlenecks that you have. So since I mentioned about consolidation and advocacy, I think it's a very dominating topic, kind of very hot topic these days. So that's how we define AI transformation and consultancy from Zillion. And I think this is kind of very flexible approach for you. So multiple requirements can be bring down into one prioritize one high impact requirement, and we just pick one, and we define the business impact and the quick win that you will gain, and we define the solution, and we'll go ahead with adoption and scale. So I think we have covered all the topics which you have defined for the webinar at the moment. So I would like to open the floor for the questions from the audience. So you can either drop your questions to the chat, or simply you can unmute yourself and just raise your questions. Yeah. Yes, it seems that we don't have much questions for today. Yeah, but if you have anything, like say, if you have a requirement, or if you're kind of really interested in exploring this in depth, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can make ourselves available to help you out with that as well. Yeah, I think we have one question. So all these features can be integrated through ERP, right? Yes, we are. Absolutely, yes. So basically, all the use cases that we showed to you, so it can be definitely, basically the output can be definitely integrated through an ERP. Yes, definitely can be done. So one thing to mention, I think we just came across multiple use cases, but yeah, yeah. So we have one more question, but before jumping into that, I have one thing to say. So if you have any concerns about data, so we can assure that your data never leaves your tenant. So all these solutions and all this data will remain in your tenant, within your tenant. So all the solutions or whatever the product that we are bringing up to you will be deployed within your tenant. So we can rest assured your data will never leave your tenant. So since majority of these solutions are building within the Microsoft ecosystem, so it's we can guarantee that from a security and a compliance perspective, all your data will be in a full secured environment, and only the I would say from accessibility perspective. This data will be only accessible within the organization itself. So even from us, what we would always guarantee is that data is a very sensitive thing. So we always make sure that your data remains only within your tenant, and it will never be exposed to any other external party. So it will definitely remain within your tenant. So I think, Kavinda, for your question, I think I gave you the answer. So from a security perspective, definitely this data will be remaining inside your organization tenant. So I think we don't have no more questions, but so thank you so much for your time today. I think it's really been a pleasure walking through this with you. So, if any of what you saw resonated, please reach out to us. So, I think you already have my and Enrico's emails with you as well. So, and please stay in touch, even if it's just to share how you are thinking about AI in your business. So we learn as much from you as you learn from us. So thank you, and we look forward to see you in another upcoming webinar as well. So and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.